The silence of space held secrets that would make gods weep. David Ray pressed his palm against the viewing port of the Silent Thunder and watched 3 alien cruisers pass within 50 kilometers of his position. The Keth warships moved like sleeping giants through the void, their crews completely unaware that a human battleship floated beside them, invisible and deadly. The quantum cloak wrapped around his vessel like a second skin, bending light and energy signatures into nothingness. "Sir, the convoy has cleared our position," reported Lieutenant Ann Cross from the sensor station. Her voice carried the practiced calm of someone who had spent 5 years hiding in plain sight among the galaxy's most powerful military forces. "Maintain silent running for another hour," David replied, his eyes still fixed on the retreating alien ships. "I want to be certain they're gone before we resume course." The bridge of the Silent Thunder hummed with barely contained energy. Holographic displays showed a tactical situation that would have shocked every alien species in known space. Hundreds of human vessels moved through this sector alone, each one invisible to the most advanced detection systems the galaxy could produce. Trade convoys carried exotic materials between hidden human colonies. Military patrols protected shipping lanes that officially did not exist. Construction ships built stations in the shadows of asteroid fields, their work concealed by technology that made human civilization a ghost in the machine of galactic politics. David had been born into this secret. His father had commanded stealth frigates during the early expansion years. His grandfather had been among the first humans to reverse engineer the ancient alien ruins discovered beneath the Martian polar ice caps in 2089. That discovery had changed everything for humanity, though the rest of the galaxy remained ignorant of its significance. The ruins contained technology beyond anything humans had imagined possible. Quantum phase manipulators that could bend spacetime around objects, making them undetectable to conventional sensors. Star maps showing the locations of habitable worlds scattered across the spiral arm. Most importantly, the ruins held manufacturing specifications for devices that could produce more of the same technology. Within 50 years, humanity had gone from struggling to reach their own moon to secretly colonizing worlds hundreds of light years from Earth. The Terran Shadow Fleet grew in hidden shipyards built inside hollowed-out asteroids. Human colonies flourished on planets the aliens considered worthless or uninhabitable. "Communications from Fleet Command," announced Ensign Gary Bell. "Priority 1 transmission." David moved to the communication console and activated the quantum encryption system. Admiral Thompson's weathered face appeared on the screen, his expression grim despite the secure connection. "Captain Ray, I'm transmitting new deployment orders. The Valdris Confederation has announced plans to expand their subspace communication network into Sector 7749. That puts them dangerously close to our mining operations on Kepler 186F. David felt a chill run down his spine. Kepler 186F hosted one of humanity's largest industrial complexes, hidden beneath artificial storm systems that made orbital scans impossible. If the Valdris discovered human activity there, the secret that had protected his species for 3 centuries would be exposed. "What are our orders, sir?" "Deploy Shadow Squadron to establish a monitoring perimeter around the Valdris construction fleet. If they show any signs of detecting our presence, you are authorized to use quantum jammers to disrupt their scanning. Equipment, make it look like natural interference." The transmission ended, leaving David alone with the weight of human civilization resting on his shoulders. He had participated in dozens of such operations over the years. Human forces had prevented 3 major galactic wars by secretly eliminating key military targets before conflicts could escalate. They had manipulated trade routes to ensure strategic resources flowed away from potential threats. They had even infiltrated alien governments using advanced holographic disguises, steering policy decisions to benefit human expansion. Navigation, set course for Kepler 186F, maximum stealth velocity. The Silent Thunder began moving toward its destination, its engines producing no detectable emissions. Around them, the hidden empire of humanity continued its silent dance among the stars. On Proxima Centauri b, human colonists harvested quantum crystals from deep ocean trenches while maintaining the illusion that their world was nothing more than a barren rock. In the Vega system, human scientists worked in underground laboratories, developing new stealth technologies that would keep their civilization hidden for another 1,000 years. The aliens who occasionally visited Earth saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel, struggling with basic fusion power and crude spacecraft. Human ambassadors played their parts perfectly, expressing wonder at alien technologies that human scientists had surpassed decades earlier. The deception required enormous resources and coordination, but it had allowed humanity to expand without triggering the defensive responses that had destroyed so many other emerging civilizations. David remembered his first visit to one of the hidden worlds as a young officer. New Geneva orbited a star the aliens called worthless, its surface apparently covered in toxic clouds. In reality, the clouds were artificial, concealing cities that housed 10 million humans. Children played in parks beneath artificial suns, while their parents worked in factories producing starships that could outrun anything in the known galaxy. The scope of human achievement staggered even those who lived within it. 847 star systems under human control. A population approaching 50 billion souls spread across hundreds of worlds. Industrial capacity that dwarfed the combined output of the three major alien powers. Military forces, capable of conquering half the galaxy if they chose to reveal themselves, yet they remained hidden, ghosts haunting the edges of galactic civilization. Every human child learned the cardinal rule from birth: the secret must be preserved at all costs. One moment of carelessness, one technical failure, one act of betrayal could destroy everything their species had built. As the silent thunder approached its destination, David wondered how much longer the deception could continue. The galaxy was changing. Alien technology advanced with each passing year. New detection methods were developed regularly. Sooner or later, someone would see through the quantum veils that concealed humanity's true nature. When that day came, the galaxy would discover that the primitive species they had dismissed as barely worthy of notice controlled more territory and possessed more advanced technology than any civilization in recorded history. The revelation would shake the foundations of galactic politics and trigger consequences that no one could predict. But for now, the secret held, humanity continued to rise in the shadows, building an empire that existed everywhere and nowhere, waiting for the day when they would no longer need to hide. Rachel Torres adjusted the neural interface that would transform her appearance into that of a primitive Earth diplomat. The holographic disguise flickered to life around her body, replacing her advanced military uniform with the crude synthetic materials that aliens expected humans to wear. Her neural implants dimmed to barely detectable levels, and the quantum communicator embedded in her skull switched to passive mode. Within seconds, she had become exactly what the galaxy believed all humans to be: a barely civilized representative of a backward species, clinging to the edge of space. The transformation chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Dawn contained technology that could fool the most sophisticated alien sensors. Every human diplomat carried genetic markers, carefully altered to match the fictional baseline that Earth's public representatives displayed to the galaxy. Their spacecraft were deliberately primitive, powered by fusion reactors that aliens considered quaint and armed with weapons that posed no threat to modern warships. Ambassador Torres, we're receiving a transmission from the Keth Alliance flagship, announced Commander William Stone. They're requesting permission to conduct a standard technological assessment of our vessel. Rachel smiled grimly. The technological assessments had become routine over the past century. Alien powers periodically examined human equipment to ensure that Earth remained safely primitive. They never found anything suspicious because there was nothing suspicious to find. The real human technology remained hidden in parallel dimensions, accessible only through quantum phase gates that existed beyond alien understanding. Grant them full access, Commander. Make sure they see everything they expect to see. The Keth Inspection team arrived within an hour, their tall, blue-skinned forms moving with the confident arrogance of a species that had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years. Chief Inspector Vell examined the peaceful Dawn systems with the sort of condescending thoroughness that Rachel had learned to endure. Your fusion reactors show marginal improvement over your previous designs, Vell noted, his voice carrying the tone one might use when praising a child's artwork. Perhaps in another century, your species will achieve true interstellar capability. We are grateful for the Keth Alliance's patience with our slow development, Rachel replied, injecting just the right amount of humble admiration into her voice. Your people's technological achievements continue to inspire us. What the Keth inspector did not know was that the primitive fusion reactor he examined was actually a sophisticated holographic projection. The peaceful Dawn was powered by a zero-point energy generator that could fuel a small city. Its weapon systems, currently invisible beneath layers of quantum shielding, could destroy a Keth battlecruiser in seconds. Its defensive screens could withstand direct hits from the heaviest alien artillery. The inspection concluded with Vell's predictable recommendation that humanity be permitted to continue their limited expansion under alien supervision. The Keth Alliance would graciously allow Earth to establish colonies on 3 additional worlds, all of them located in regions that aliens considered worthless. What they did not realize was that humans had already been mining those worlds for 50 years. The deception becomes more complex each year, Commander Stone observed after the Keth delegation departed. How much longer can we maintain this illusion? Rachel had been asking herself the same question for decades. She commanded the Diplomatic Deception Division, an organization that employed over 1 million humans across the galaxy. Their job was to maintain the greatest lie in galactic history, that humanity was weak, primitive and harmless. The lie required constant maintenance. Human agents infiltrated alien governments, using holographic disguises and neural implants that allowed them to perfectly mimic alien behavior patterns. They guided policy decisions to prevent the development of technologies that might detect human stealth systems. They manipulated trade agreements to ensure that strategic resources flowed toward human space. They even orchestrated minor conflicts between alien powers to prevent any single species from becoming powerful enough to threaten human expansion. The most challenging aspect of the deception involved Earth itself. The planet that aliens knew as humanity's homeworld was actually an elaborate stage set. The cities visible from orbit were carefully constructed facades designed to appear primitive but functional. The population that aliens occasionally encountered consisted of specially trained actors who had spent years learning to behave like the backwards humans that galactic civilization expected to meet. The real Earth had been evacuated centuries ago. Its 10 billion inhabitants now lived on hidden worlds scattered across the galaxy, their advanced civilization invisible to alien sensors. The few thousand humans who remained on Earth were volunteers who had dedicated their lives to maintaining the deception that protected their species. Rachel's personal communicator chimed with an encrypted message from deep space. The quantum encryption indicated that the transmission had originated from somewhere in the Andromeda Galaxy, where human exploration fleets had been conducting reconnaissance missions for the past 50 years. Priority Alpha Intelligence Report. The message began. Long-range sensors have detected evidence of another hidden civilization operating beyond the galactic rim. Species designation unknown. Technology level appears to exceed current human capabilities. Recommend immediate consultation with Shadow Council. The Shadow Council consisted of 12 individuals who guided humanity's secret expansion across the stars. Rachel had been invited to join their ranks. After successfully orchestrating the downfall of the Thane Republic's previous government, replacing warmongering leaders with peaceful administrators who had no interest in exploring the regions where human colonies flourished, she encrypted a response and transmitted it through quantum channels that would take the message across space instantly. Within hours, she would be meeting with the most powerful humans in the galaxy to discuss a discovery that could change everything. The discovery of another hidden civilization raised troubling questions. Had humanity's expansion been detected? by beings even more advanced than themselves? Were there other species playing the same game of deception that had served humanity so well? Most importantly, what would happen if these unknown aliens decided that humanity posed a threat? Rachel's shuttle departed the peaceful dawn and entered a quantum tunnel that transported her across half the galaxy in minutes. She emerged in a star system that appeared empty to conventional sensors, but actually hosted New Geneva, the secret capital of human space. The city-sized space station orbited a brown dwarf star, its massive bulk hidden by quantum phase generators that made it invisible to any form of detection. The Shadow Council chamber occupied the station's central core, a spherical room where 12 of the most brilliant minds in human history gathered to shape their species' destiny. Director Michael Hayes had spent 40 years guiding human expansion. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had developed the quantum stealth systems that made human civilization invisible. General Patricia Williams commanded military forces capable of conquering the known galaxy. "The situation has become critical," Director Hayes announced as the council convened. "Our deep space reconnaissance has identified 17 separate civilizations operating in complete secrecy beyond the galactic rim. Each of them appears to possess technology that surpasses our own capabilities." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. For 3 centuries, humanity had believed themselves to be unique in their approach to galactic expansion. The discovery that they were merely one of many hidden civilizations changed everything. Furthermore, Dr. Rodriguez added, our quantum stealth systems have been experiencing minor fluctuations across all sectors. The cause remains unknown, but the pattern suggests external interference. The implications were staggering. If other civilizations had developed technology capable of detecting human stealth systems, then humanity's greatest advantage would become their greatest weakness. Billions of humans lived on worlds that remained invisible only because their concealment technology continued to function perfectly. "We have built our entire civilization on the assumption that we could remain hidden indefinitely," General Williams observed. "If that assumption proves false, we will need to fundamentally reconsider our position in the galaxy." Rachel looked around the chamber at the faces of the people who had guided humanity to heights undreamed of by previous generations. They had created an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems. They commanded resources that dwarfed those of any known alien civilization. They possessed technology that could reshape the galaxy according to their will, yet all of it depended on a single, fragile deception. If the quantum veils that concealed human civilization ever failed, their species would face the combined wrath of every alien power in the galaxy. The very success of their expansion had made them targets that could not afford to be discovered. Emma Walsh stared at the holographic display, showing quantum resonance patterns that should not exist deep beneath the surface of Titan Base. Humanity's most advanced research facility hummed with barely contained energy. The concealment protocol. Laboratories had spent 2 centuries perfecting the technology that kept human civilization invisible to alien sensors. Every breakthrough, every improvement, every innovation had been tested and retested in chambers that could simulate any conceivable detection method, but the patterns, Emma observed, defied every theoretical model her team had developed. "Run the simulation again," she instructed the quantum computer array that occupied an entire level of the facility. "This time, increase the subspace pulse frequency by 0.7%. The holographic display shifted, showing the invisible barrier that surrounded every human ship, station, and colony across the galaxy. The quantum resonance field that made them undetectable began to fluctuate in ways that made Emma's heart race with terror. Dr. James Chun approached her workstation with the expression of someone who had been reviewing the same impossible data for 18 straight hours. As head of theoretical physics for the concealment protocol, he had participated in the development of every major stealth innovation over the past 30 years. "The results are consistent across all test scenarios," he reported. "Exposure to Type 7 subspace pulses causes cascade failures in our quantum phase generators. The concealment field collapses within 47 seconds of initial contact. Emma felt the weight of human civilization settling on her shoulders. She had dedicated her life to maintaining the technology that kept 50 billion humans safe from alien detection. The thought that this technology contained a fundamental flaw that had remained hidden for centuries filled her with cold dread. "What's the source of these subspace pulses?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The Valdris Confederation has been experimenting with advanced communication systems," Chun replied. "Their new interstellar network relies on subspace pulse transmission to achieve instantaneous communication across galactic distances. The pulse frequencies they're using fall directly within our vulnerable range." The implications were staggering. The Valdris Confederation controlled nearly a quarter of known space. Their communication network, once fully deployed, would blanket the galaxy with the exact type of energy that could strip away humanity's concealment. Every human colony, every stealth ship, every hidden base would become visible to alien sensors. Within minutes of the network's activation, Emma called up a tactical display, showing the current deployment of Valdris communication stations. Red markers indicated facilities that were already operational. Yellow markers showed stations under construction. Green markers represented planned installations that would complete the network within 2 years. "How many human assets fall within the current operational range?" she asked. The computer's response came immediately. 47 colonies, 133 military installations, and over 600 stealth vessels are currently exposed to Type 7 subspace pulse radiation. Emma closed her eyes and tried to process the magnitude of the crisis. Nearly 2 million humans lived on worlds that could become visible to alien detection at any moment. The Valdris Confederation's routine communication traffic was already causing minor fluctuations in their concealment systems. "Have we detected any actual failures yet?" she asked. 3 incidents in the past week," Chun replied grimly. A cargo convoy flickered into visibility for 12 seconds near the Altair system. A mining station in the Vega sector appeared on long-range scans for almost a minute. Most seriously, the colony on Kepler 442b experienced complete concealment failure for nearly 6 minutes yesterday. The news hit Emma like a physical blow. Kepler 442b hosted 300,000 human colonists who had lived their entire lives believing they were safely hidden from the galaxy's dangers. If Valdris sensors had detected the colony during its exposure period, enemy fleets could already be en route to investigate. "What countermeasures can we implement?" Emma asked, though she already knew that the options were limited. "Short-term solutions include quantum jamming arrays that can disrupt Valdris communication pulses," Chun explained. "However, widespread jamming would certainly be detected and investigated. Long-term solutions require fundamental redesign of our concealment technology, which would take decades to develop and centuries to implement across all human assets." Emma walked to the viewing port that looked out over Titan's frozen landscape. Somewhere above the methane clouds, Saturn hung in space like a golden jewel, its rings reflecting sunlight in patterns that had inspired human artists for millennia. The beauty of the solar system had once seemed like humanity's entire universe. Now it was merely one tiny corner of an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems, an empire that was about to be exposed to a galaxy that would not forgive the deception that had hidden it for so long. "Begin immediate development of quantum jamming countermeasures," she ordered. "I want portable units that can be deployed around our most critical assets within 72 hours. We'll buy ourselves time while we work on permanent solutions." The research teams scattered to their respective laboratories, each carrying assignments that could determine the fate of human civilization. Emma remained at the viewing port, watching Saturn's rings rotate in their ancient dance, and tried to imagine a future where humanity no longer needed to hide among the stars. Her personal communicator buzzed with an encrypted transmission from New Geneva. The Shadow Council was convening an emergency session to discuss the concealment crisis. Emma would need to travel across the galaxy to brief the 12 most powerful humans alive on the greatest threat their species had ever faced, the quantum tunnel transport. Delivered her to New Geneva within hours. The secret capital of human? Space buzzed with activity as word of the concealment failure spread through the command structure. Military commanders prepared contingency plans for the possibility of exposure. Diplomatic corps members reviewed protocols for first contact, scenarios that might no longer be voluntary. Colonial administrators began evacuating civilians from the most vulnerable worlds. Emma entered the shadow council chamber to find 12 faces that reflected her own fears and determination. These people had guided humanity's expansion across the galaxy for centuries. They had made decisions that affected the lives of billions. Now they faced a crisis that could undo everything their predecessors had built. Dr. Walsh, Director Hayes began, please provide your assessment of the concealment failure situation. Emma activated the holographic display and showed the council the same terrifying data she had been analyzing for days. The quantum resonance patterns that revealed humanity's greatest weakness. The expanding network of Valdris communication stations that would soon expose every human asset in the galaxy. The countdown to the moment when their species would no longer be able to hide among the stars. How long do we have? General Williams asked. Based on current Valdris expansion schedules, their communication network will achieve full galactic coverage within 18 months, Emma replied. However, cascade failures are already occurring in regions where the network is operational. We could experience total concealment collapse at any moment. The chamber fell silent as the council members absorbed the implications of her report. 3 centuries of careful expansion and technological development could be undone by a single alien innovation that humanity had failed to anticipate. What are our options? Director Hayes asked. Emma took a deep breath before answering. We can attempt to delay Valdris network expansion through covert sabotage operations. We can implement quantum jamming arrays to protect our most critical assets. We can begin evacuating exposed colonies to safer regions of space. Or we can accept that our period of hidden expansion is ending and prepare for the inevitable moment when the galaxy discovers our true nature. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Everything that made humanity unique in the galaxy was about to be stripped away by forces beyond their control. The secret that had protected them for centuries was finally reaching its expiration. Date. The age of hidden expansion was coming to an end. The question that remained was whether humanity would survive long enough to see what came next. Kyle Bennett watched his fleet materialize in the middle of a Kethane joint military exercise like ghosts stepping into the light. The quantum concealment fields that had hidden Battle Group 7 for 8 years collapsed simultaneously across all 67 vessels. Where moments before there had been empty space, the aliens suddenly found themselves facing a human armada that dwarfed their combined forces. The Sovereign Dawn, Kyle's flagship, stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull gleaming with armor plating that incorporated technology beyond alien understanding. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures across the entire fleet, reported Commander Lisa Shung from her position at the tactical station. All stealth systems have failed simultaneously. We are completely exposed. Kyle had commanded stealth operations for 15 years, and he had always known this moment might come. The briefings from Fleet Command had warned that concealment failures were becoming more frequent as alien technology advanced. But knowing something intellectually and experiencing it firsthand were entirely different matters. Communications, open a channel to the Keth flagship, Kyle ordered. It's time to stop pretending we don't exist. The main viewer showed the bridge of the Keth battle cruiser Majestic Honor, where Admiral Var stood frozen in shock. The blue-skinned alien's face displayed the sort of confusion that came from having one's understanding of reality shattered in an instant. This is Admiral Kyle Bennett of the Terran Defense Force, Kyle announced, using humanity's real military designation for the first time in alien presence. We apologize for the dramatic nature of our introduction. The silence that followed stretched for nearly a minute as alien minds struggled to process what they were witnessing. The primitive humans they had dismissed as barely capable of interplanetary travel had just revealed a battle fleet that exceeded the combined military power of both the Keth Alliance and the Thane Republic. "This is impossible," Admiral Var finally managed to say. "Human technology is primitive. Your species lacks the industrial capacity to construct vessels of this magnitude." Kyle almost smiled at the alien's confusion. "Admiral, I'm afraid your information regarding human capabilities has been somewhat incomplete. We would very much like to discuss the situation diplomatically." But diplomacy was already becoming impossible. Kyle's tactical displays showed emergency transmissions flooding the communication networks of both alien fleets. Within hours, every major power in the galaxy would know that humanity had been operating the largest stealth fleet in known space. The revelation triggered panic across dozens of star systems. On the Keth homeworld, emergency sessions of the High Council attempted to understand how an entire human battle fleet had appeared without detection. Thane Republic military commanders reviewed decades of sensor records, searching for signs of human vessels they had missed. The Valdris Confederation began systematic sweeps of all space lanes, looking for evidence of additional human forces. What they found exceeded their worst fears. Human colonies began appearing on long-range scans across hundreds of star systems. Massive industrial complexes that had operated in secret for centuries became visible as their concealment systems failed. Trade networks that spanned the galaxy revealed themselves to alien sensors that had never detected their existence. Kyle received continuous updates from human assets throughout the galaxy as the scope of the exposure became clear. The mining world of Kepler 186f had been discovered by Valdris patrol fleets, its 3 million inhabitants desperately activating emergency defense systems. The agricultural colonies in the Vega system were surrounded by Keth reconnaissance vessels. The shipyards of New Geneva had implemented lockdown protocols as alien forces approached from 3 different directions. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Shadow Council," Commander Chun announced. "Fleet Admiral Hayes is ordering all units to implement Contingency 7. Kyle felt his blood turn cold. Contingency 7 was the emergency protocol that had been developed for the scenario they now faced: complete exposure of human civilization to a hostile galaxy. It called for the immediate evacuation of non-essential personnel from vulnerable positions and the preparation of all military assets for coordinated defensive actions. "All ships implement Contingency 7, Kyle broadcast to his fleet. "Prepare for possible hosting from alien forces." The response came within minutes. Keth and Thane vessels began taking combat positions around Battle Group 7, their weapons powering up in preparation for battle. The joint military exercise that had been proceeding peacefully for days had transformed into a potential massacre. "Incoming transmission from multiple alien vessels," the communications officer reported. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." Kyle looked at the tactical display showing 67 human warships surrounded by over 200 alien vessels. Under normal circumstances, the humans would be hopelessly outgunned, but these were not normal circumstances. The aliens had no idea what human military technology was actually capable of. "Admiral Bennett," came the voice of Admiral Var from the Keth flagship. "You will power down your weapons and submit to inspection. Your species has violated every treaty regarding military development and territorial expansion." "Admiral Var," Kyle replied carefully, "I understand your concern. However, I must point out that humanity never signed treaties limiting our military development or territorial expansion. We were never invited to participate in the negotiations that established those agreements." The truth of that statement hung in space like an accusation. For centuries, the galactic powers had treated humanity as too primitive to warrant inclusion in serious diplomatic processes. They had made decisions about territorial boundaries and military limitations without consulting the species they assumed could never threaten their dominance. Now they were discovering that the Species they had ignored controlled more territory than any of them individually and possessed military technology that made their fleets obsolete. "This is Fleet Admiral Patricia Hayes," came a new voice over the communication channels. "I am speaking on behalf of the Terran Defense Force and the 47 billion human citizens currently residing on 847 worlds throughout this galaxy." Kyle watched the alien faces on his screen process the magnitude of what they were hearing. 47 billion humans. 847 worlds. An empire that had grown in secret while they assumed humanity was confined to a single star system. The Terran Defense Force is implementing defensive protocols to protect our civilian populations. Admiral Hayes continued, "We have no desire for conflict, but we will not allow harm to come to human colonies that have existed peacefully for centuries." The communication channels exploded with alien voices as commanders attempted to coordinate responses to a threat they had never imagined possible. Some called for immediate military action to prevent human expansion. Others demanded diplomatic negotiations to understand the full scope of human capabilities. A few suggested retreat until reinforcements could arrive. Kyle watched the chaos unfold and realized that humanity had crossed a threshold from which there could be no return. The secret that had protected his species for 3 centuries was gone forever. The galaxy now knew that humans were not the primitive, harmless creatures they had pretended to be. The age of deception was over. The age of consequences had begun. All human vessels prepare for combat operations, Kyle ordered his fleet. "It appears our introduction to galactic society is not going to be a peaceful one." Around him, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency to prepare for a battle that would determine whether humanity would emerge from the shadows as an equal power or be destroyed for the deception that had made their empire possible. The galaxy was about to discover what humans were truly capable of when they stopped hiding among the stars. Robert Hayes stood in the command center of humanity's greatest fortress as the galaxy burned around him. New Geneva Station had become the focal point of the largest military buildup in galactic history. 6 major alien civilizations had united. For the first time in 3,000 years, their combined fleets, converging on human space with the single goal of destroying the species that had deceived them for centuries. The holographic display showed over 10,000 enemy vessels approaching. From every direction, their intent clear and unforgiving. "Current status report," Robert ordered, his voice carrying the calm authority that had guided humanity through its greatest crisis. "Evacuation of non-essential colonies is 60% complete," reported General Maria Santos. "We've successfully relocated 12 million civilians to defensive positions in the Outer Rim. However, we still have 34 million people on worlds that cannot be evacuated in time." Robert nodded grimly. The numbers represented more than statistics to him. Each evacuation had required the abandonment of colonies that humans had spent centuries building. Entire worlds were being left behind as the fleet fell back toward more defensible positions in the Sol system and beyond. "Enemy fleet disposition?" he asked. "The Keth Alliance is approaching from galactic north with 4,000 vessels," General Santos replied. "The Thane Republic has committed 3,000 ships from the eastern sectors. The Valdris Confederation, Zorith Empire, Hegemony of Worlds, and the Free Star Coalition are bringing their combined forces to bear from the south and west." The scale of the alien response exceeded even humanity's worst-case scenarios. The revelation of human expansion had triggered such fear and outrage among the galactic powers that ancient enemies were cooperating to ensure humanity's destruction. Species that had fought wars lasting centuries were now sharing intelligence and coordinating attacks. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Ambassador Stone aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony," the communications officer announced. Patricia Stone's image appeared on the main screen, her face drawn with exhaustion from weeks of desperate negotiations. She had been humanity's primary diplomat during the crisis, attempting to find peaceful solutions even as alien fleets massed for war. "General Hayes, I've just concluded meetings with representatives from the Antarian Republic and the Centauri Federation," she reported. Both governments have agreed to remain neutral in the conflict, but they're refusing to provide any assistance. To human forces, Robert felt a flicker of hope. Neutrality was better than active hostility. What about the younger species? The Delphini Union? The Proxima Alliance? The Delphini Union has formally condemned the Galactic Coalition's actions. Patricia replied. Their ambassador stated that humanity's expansion represents the greatest intelligence achievement in galactic history and should be studied rather than destroyed. The Proxima Alliance is split, but several of their colonies have offered to provide sanctuary for human refugees. The support from younger civilizations provided some comfort, but it would not be enough to alter the strategic situation. Humanity faced the combined might of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful empires. Even with their advanced technology, human forces were outnumbered nearly 20 to 1. General, we're detecting quantum tunnel signatures throughout the Sol system, the sensor operator announced. Multiple human fleets are arriving from deep space operations. Robert watched as humanity's most powerful military assets emerged from quantum tunnels around Earth's sun. The Deep Strike Fleet returned from missions beyond the galactic rim. The Shadow Fleet materialized from hidden bases in dark matter clouds. The Explorer Corps brought their advanced reconnaissance vessels home from surveying missions in distant galaxies. For the first time in weeks, Robert allowed himself to feel hope. Humanity's military forces had never been concentrated in a single location before. The sight of over 2,000 human warships taking defensive positions around their homeworld was both inspiring and terrifying. Sir, priority transmission from the research division, the communications officer reported. Dr. Walsh reports a breakthrough in concealment technology. Emma Walsh's image appeared alongside Patricia Stone's on the main screen. The quantum physicist looked like she had not slept in days, but her eyes burned with the intensity of discovery. General Hayes, we've developed a new form of quantum shielding that's immune to Valdris subspace pulses, she announced. The new system can't make us invisible, but it can protect human vessels and installations from most forms of alien detection. We're calling it Quantum Fortress technology. How long to implement across the fleet? Robert asked. The first production units will be ready within 72 hours, Emma replied. Full fleet deployment will take approximately 6 months, assuming we can maintain control of our manufacturing facilities. The breakthrough represented humanity's best hope for long-term survival. If they could withstand the initial alien assault, the new technology would allow them to rebuild their defensive capabilities without relying on complete concealment. Begin immediate implementation on all defensive installations, Robert ordered. We need every advantage we can get. The first alien fleets arrived at the edges of human space 3 days later. The Battle of Kepler 186f became humanity's first major test since exposure. 300 Keth vessels attacked the mining world, expecting to face primitive human defenses. Instead, they encountered orbital weapons platforms armed with quantum disruptors that could tear apart alien hulls at the molecular level. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, only 40 Keth ships remained functional, while human forces had lost 12 vessels. The victory sent shockwaves through the alien coalition. Intelligence reports began flowing in about human weapons technology that exceeded theoretical limits. The aliens are beginning to realize that destroying us won't be as simple as they assumed, General Santos observed as she reviewed battle reports. Keth High Command has ordered a complete tactical reassessment. But humanity's victories came at a terrible cost. For every alien fleet they defeated, 3 more appeared to take its place. The industrial worlds of the Vega system fell to Thane Republic forces after a week-long siege. The agricultural colonies of Proxima Centauri were evacuated just hours before Valdris bombardment fleets arrived. Robert found himself commanding a fighting retreat that spanned hundreds of light years. Human forces would establish defensive positions around critical worlds, inflict maximum damage on attacking alien fleets, then withdraw to the next fallback position before being overwhelmed by superior numbers. The strategy was working, but it was unsustainable. Each withdrawal meant abandoning millions of human civilians to uncertain fates under alien occupation. Each victory came at the cost of irreplaceable ships and experienced personnel. "Sir, we're receiving an unusual transmission," the communications officer announced during the third week of the war. "It's coming from Antarian space, but the signal is heavily encrypted with human quantum protocols." The transmission resolved into the image of Dr. Vel Antares, one of the galaxy's most respected xenobiologists. Robert recognized him from diplomatic encounters, but something was different about the alien's demeanor. "General Hayes, I am transmitting this message at considerable personal risk," Dr. Antares began. "There are many within the scientific community who believe that humanity's achievement represents the greatest advancement in galactic civilization since the development of faster-than-light travel." Robert leaned forward, intrigued by the unexpected communication. "A coalition of scientists, philosophers, and progressive political leaders from 17 different species has formed to advocate for peaceful resolution of this conflict," the Dr. Antares continued. "We believe that humanity should be integrated into galactic society rather than destroyed for their ingenuity." The transmission included detailed proposals for ceasefire negotiations and frameworks for human integration into existing galactic institutions. More importantly, it revealed that the alien coalition was not as unified as it appeared. Significant populations within several major civilizations were beginning to question the wisdom of destroying a species whose only crime had been succeeding too well at expansion. "General, we're detecting movement in the Altair system," the sensor operator reported. "Delphini Union vessels are taking positions between our forces and the incoming Keth fleet." Robert watched in amazement as ships belonging to a dozen different alien species moved to interpose themselves between human and coalition forces. The younger civilizations of the galaxy were taking enormous risks to protect humanity from the wrath of their elders. "This is Admiral Senna of the Delphine Union," came a transmission from the lead alien vessel. "We cannot stand by while a species is destroyed for the crime of being too successful at survival." The political situation shifted dramatically over the following weeks. Public opinion within several alien civilizations began turning against the war as images of human refugees and destroyed colonies spread through galactic media networks. The revelation that humans had prevented 3 major galactic wars through secret interventions gained particular attention among peace-oriented species. Patricia Stone worked tirelessly to exploit these political openings. Her diplomatic missions to neutral worlds began yielding results as more civilizations questioned the justification for humanity's destruction. The narrative was changing from eliminate the deceptive humans to integrate the remarkable humans. The turning point came during the Battle of Sol itself. As alien fleets surrounded humanity's home system, preparing for the final assault that would end human civilization, something unprecedented happened. Nearly 1,000 ships belonging to younger alien civilizations emerged from quantum tunnels between the attackers and their targets. "This is Fleet Commander Zara of the Combined Neutral Forces," announced the leader of the intervention fleet. "We cannot permit the destruction of a species whose expansion methods, while unconventional, violated no existing galactic laws." The standoff lasted for 3 days. 2 massive fleets faced each other across the void of space, their weapons powered and ready, while diplomats worked frantically to find a solution that would prevent the largest battle in galactic history. The compromise that emerged satisfied no one completely but saved humanity from extinction. Human forces would retain control of their existing colonies, but future expansion would be conducted openly under galactic oversight. The stealth technology that had enabled their secret empire would be shared with the galactic community to prevent other species from achieving similar deceptions. Most importantly, humanity would be granted full membership in the Galactic Council with representation proportional to their actual population and territorial holdings. Robert stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station 6 months after the crisis began and watched human and alien vessels working together to establish the new diplomatic protocols. The age of hidden expansion was over, but humanity had survived to see a new age of open participation in galactic civilization. The secret that had protected them for centuries was gone, but in its place was something perhaps more valuable: acceptance as equals among the stars. Humanity had risen in secret, seen their empire nearly fall overnight, and emerged stronger than ever before. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had turned deception into the greatest expansion in known history.